Hey everybody, it's John DeYoung, and today we're going to talk about is body fat good for you at some level? Also differences in body fat that you really need to know. All right, so let's get started. That most fat is stored underneath the skin. That is known as subcutaneous fat. Okay, this is the fat that you can pinch with your fingers. Okay, if you maybe have done some body fat caliber tests with your trainer or your doctor. Now, some subcutaneous fat is good for your body. It also helps protect it. But of course, too much of it can obviously lead to serious health issues. Okay, this is especially true with what's called visceral fat. All right, now, visceral fat is a type of body fat that lies deep within your abdominal walls and it surrounds your organs. Okay, now, some levels of visceral fat also are healthy because they also help protect your organs. However, obviously, too much visceral fat, just like subcutaneous fat, can be dangerous for your health, but more with visceral fat. Because beneath your abdominal muscles is something called fascia, and inside that fascia you have this cradle, if you will, and that's where all your organs are. And that's the place where you don't want to have fat, and that's where visceral fat accumulates, okay? Now, visceral fat is sometimes called active fat. Now, that's because it is metabolically active, which means it actually plays an active role in how your body functions. Visceral fat releases substances called, let me get this right, cytokines, okay? That can contribute to inflammation, insulin resistance. Too much visceral fat can lead to really serious health issues, mainly diabetes, heart disease, and stroke, okay? Now, a growing belly is the most obvious sign of visceral fat, but that can also indicate subcutaneous fat, okay? Some studies show that if you have a pot belly or are more apple-shaped rather than pear-shaped, you may have more visceral fat. Also, as a luxury, if you can afford it or your health coverage covers it, you can get an MRI or a CT scan, and that's going to give you a really definitive number on the percent of visceral fat you have, okay? Now, other things such as genetic and environmental factors will determine the amount of visceral fat that you collect. Also, genetics does determine your body's shape and how your body stores visceral fat. But environmental factors such as diet and exercise also play a key role as well, and that's something you can really control yourself, okay? Because obviously a poor diet with a high intake of fatty foods, carbohydrates, sugar, an inactive lifestyle, that's pretty much the building blocks for an increase in visceral fat, okay? However, also stress is a factor too, okay? So what happens when you're stressed? Stress activates a hormone in your body called cortisol. Now the problem is more cortisol activates your body's fight or flight response, which triggers storage of more visceral fat, okay? But interestingly enough, visceral fat is actually easier to lose than subcutaneous fat. Now, this is because it's metabolized quicker in your body, and your body can get rid of it as sweat and as pee, of course, if you eat correctly and start exercising. So it's really important. You know, so if you start regularly exercising and eating a healthy diet, you should start to see results in about 2 to 3 months. Okay, now that's really impressive. Okay, so again, try to limit trans fats, refined sugars, sodium, processed foods, pretty much everything. I'm just kidding. But anyway, no, but seriously, that's really important. And the trans fats and artificial fats. The trans fats and artificial fats, they can increase the storage of visceral fat. Okay, so it's really important. Baked goods, let's throw more stuff on the pile. Processed foods, fried foods, some dairy also contains trans fats. Limit your soda, candy, and other foods sweetened with partially hydrogenated oils or high fructose corn syrup or fructose. Okay, so it's interesting when you talk about body fat how location really counts. Okay, each year brings new evidence that fat lying deep within the abdomen is more perilous than the fat that you can pinch with your fingers. In most people, about 90% of the fat is subcutaneous, the one that you can pinch with your hand, okay? Now, if you poke your belly, The fat that feels kind of soft, that's subcutaneous fat. The remaining 10%, that's the visceral fat or intra-abdominal fat. Again, that lies out of reach beneath the firm abdominal wall. It's also stored in the omentum. Now, that's an apron-like flap of tissue that lies underneath the belly muscles, and it blankets the intestines. The omentum gets harder and thicker as it fills with fat. And this is obviously visceral fat. And although visceral fat makes up only a small portion of body fat, like I said before, it's really a key player in a variety of health problems, okay? So, what can you do to reduce your visceral fat? One, keep moving. Exercise. Exercise can help you reduce waist circumference. Even if you don't lose weight, you're going to lose a visceral belly fat and gain muscle mass. Remember, visceral fat is easier to burn than subcutaneous fat. I'm going to say about at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity most days. Brisk walk, bicycling, or walk at a casual pace. Just keep moving, okay? And again, also, as I said before, you got to eat right, get sleep, and don't smoke. I think everybody knows that by now. All right, I hope this helped. Really important to control that. You're going to feel that tightness. I've had clients where I'm trying to do body fat analysis with calipers, and I can't even get a pinch. So it's kind of scary. Some of the photos that you've seen or some of the diagrams I put on this video, you can just see that fat lining your organs and your intestines. So it's really important. All right, so let's get on that. Good luck with this. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. All right, guys, take care.